Welcome to First and Goal, where everything is made up and the points don't matter. Get ready for the latest and hottest topics in the SML. Let's get started. Here's your host, Mad Bomber.
This week's episode of First and Goal. This week we've got Primetime 000. We've got Matt, and we've got QP on for his second consecutive week, dressed like Hugh Hefner over there. And we've got Field missing in action right now. So what's going on, guys?
Hey, thanks
Hey,
for
brother.
having me.
Just enjoying that undefeated life. You know how it is.
I do. All right.
Looking good, better than I play.
All right, well, let's jump into topic number one. So topic number one, we still haven't heard really anything about Madden for the upcoming cycle. But if you could make one improvement, what would it be? Prime, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I just want to stop and say what an honor it is to be graced with Hugh Hefner on the show. Great. You know, this is pretty cool. I didn't know we're pulling celebrities now. I have to hide the camera from my wife so she doesn't cheat on me. Anyway, all that said,
Thank you.
one improvement I would like to make. I'm answering this question in two different ways. Gameplay improvement, I would like to see a smarter AI. So if you're playing somebody who throws a lot of flat routes, I would like to see corners react to those differently. Like not play dumb like every time a flat route or an out route happens. Like they kind of see it later in the game that they start building resistance to certain routes. Kind of like the pass rush moves on the O-line, how they have that little like meter. I like to see that for pass concepts and pass routes, as the game goes on.
Mm-hmm.
For franchise itself, I would like to see a completely redone free agency. In 2K basketball, I don't play that game that much, but a few years ago, they had it to where you would actually sit down with the players and maybe certain players like location more. So me being a Colts fan, Indianapolis, your location would suck compared to like a New York or a Miami. But like maybe a recent winning would sway a player. And then if you're a good GM, you could pitch certain things to these players. Like if you got a lot of XP, you could buy things that would pitch towards a player to make them want to come and play for you and gain bid points. I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, and if I remember right, NCAA 14 had exactly that, where you could pick what you wanted to pitch to the player.
Yes, something like that.
All right, Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, I figured free agency would probably be the overwhelming mention. So I kind of went with I think they could just do a complete physics overhaul. Offensive line doesn't really matter, and I think a lot of that could just be because the size of the line doesn't matter. If you had a better physics engine, maybe the size of linemen, especially on 3-man rushes. Like I played Dan, and he got home on 3-man rushes like I've never seen before. Even though I have 5 offensive linemen. Whereas in real life, that doesn't happen. So I'd like to see maybe more physics. I think that would help with like throw out a sack. You see that a lot of times they'll throw out a sack. It seems like it's almost predetermined. Like it goes right to the defender. I'd love to see a physics change to where the ball is just a little bit more accurate in what would happen in real life, especially with tips and things like that. I think as a bonus, I would love for them. You mentioned NCAA, and it made me think of it, Bomber. I would love some sort of home field advantage feature in the game. If you get home field in the playoffs, really, it doesn't make a difference. The 1 seed, you have to play one less game. That's it. But being at home doesn't really do you any good. I would love, like NCAA had the thing where you like pump the crowd meter up. Like if you're on defense, and it had like a little bar in the corner, and when it got to a certain point, like the receivers couldn't hear hot routes very well. You could still hot route, but you might have to do the hot route 2 or 3 times, which could lead to delay of games or just general. Maybe you don't even get the hot route off. So I would love to see something like that. Just a little more immersion in the game.
Yeah, I like that. QP, what do you think?
So for me, a lot of things, but I'll start with like attributes. I'd say first, other than speed, we don't really see a lot of things that really stand out. I'd like to see strength matter. Like if I have a Matthew Ioannidis who has a 98 strength, I'd like to see him, set the lineman that he's facing in front of him back a little bit. They should make that a little bit more realistic as far as block shedding, strength, agility, things more than just speed. Because I feel like that's all we kind of target. And even as we draft, we don't go for the wide receiver, even if it's a first round pick with a 4.5 40. We always go with the 4.3 guy, even if it's a worser like a first round projection. Then for franchise mode, I would like to go with like a scrimmage. I would feel like I would like to be able to scrimmage like some members online, like maybe 7-on-7 passing, so you don't have to worry about just running the ball because we all know that everybody can do that. But like, so a 7-on-7 passing scrimmage thing that you can do would be pretty cool. Where you could just invite somebody if you're bored, because it gets boring kind of playing the AI, or if you're waiting for a few, I don't know, 30 minutes, you can scrimmage somebody that's online, get a kind of feel for a user right before you play your other game. I would like to see like the Oklahoma drills, like you guys were talking about the college stuff. That'd be cool to bring back like the drills, like you can do like how I would think I was listening to the podcast with you and Field Prime, and you guys were talking about like the older Maddens had like kicking, the coffin kicking, and things like that. I think that'd be pretty cool to have like different drills and bring those back, like the running back drills, the Oklahoma drills, the passing accuracy stuff. So stuff like that would be good. I can go on and on about what I would like.
The disappointing thing is there's actually a video I think posted within the last 10 days on YouTube, and I didn't even watch it, but it was titled like 95 features EA has removed from Madden in the past 8 years or something, or 10 years, and it's like, and it had like 100,000 views, so it's a legitimate, it's a legitimate video. So some of the stuff's already been in the game, and they're just taking it out, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, and then they'll slowly add it back in and consider it a new feature.
Yeah, it's a box art seller.
Yep. All right, so that's going to take us to topic number 2. So topic number 2, what guy in the SML this year, and I know QP and Matt, you guys are new, so this may be a little tougher, but who is a bounce back candidate? Who do you think kind of underperformed this year, and is due for a better performance next year? Matt, we'll start with you.
Yeah, just being in this version makes it kind of hard, but from everything that I've heard, I would say Noel. It sounds like he was pretty solid before. And this year, I got to play him in a couple weeks, so I'll be nice. But I don't see it. That Bills team is stacked. I swear every time I play him, there's stars all over that defense, and I can't do anything. But he's really underperformed with that team. And from what I understand, his previous performances have been like, I'm going to go a little off the rails at the expense of Prime's eye roll. I think Mike is going to be better next version. I played Mike and I won on a kick return. The only kick return touchdown I've ever had in Madden 21 or whatever we're playing. He beat Faz. Now, Faz. I know that was week 17 and he wasn't playing for anything, but he was undefeated. Mike plays him tough every now and then. Mike can play well. He's got a good defense. I don't know why he throws so many interceptions. He's a very smart, analytical guy. I expect better from Mike, and I think next year he'll do better. I think this one he's checked out.
Okay. Hugh, what do you think?
Since I am new, and you took Noel from me because I just went off of the records that I saw from like overall, and I seen what he is since I've joined, I can't go with him anymore. So I'm going to go with Lawyer. I saw him and I heard about him kind of always being in the playoffs, being a kind of perennial guy that was always hanging around with the big dogs. And since I've joined, I think he's been in the playoffs maybe one time. I know it's a tough NFC and it's tough to get in with 7 teams only, but I would probably go with him as one of them. And a second one that I would go with is I'd go with Pauly. I've heard a lot about Pauly. He talks a lot. A lot of people talk about his team, how he Pauly doesn't have a good team, but we're 6 or 7 seasons into the league. In the cycle, you should be able to probably have a good team by now. You have Matt Brittle, not Matt Breida, because he doesn't drink his prime vitamin D milk. He always is injured, and he trades his X Factor quarterback. Has he gotten out of the first round? I haven't. I think he has, but I wouldn't know.
I think he did at least once. I think,
but I feel like since I've been here, I haven't seen him get
Future.
Out of the
I think
round.
one time.
Okay, maybe that was the first season I was here, maybe possibly because I remember I think they played again the rematch the next season. And Future beat him, right?
Yeah, I think he's 1-2 against Future in the playoffs.
Okay, so I would go with him as one of the people. I know it's maybe a different pick, but again, he talks a big game. He's always shitting on the NFC, but I don't see him, very often after the first round.
Okay, Prime, you've been here quite a while.
Yes. Well, I'm going to take Matt's spot as the most off the rails prediction here. Now, hear me out on this before you deduct my points, Bomber.
All right.
So we look at this as somebody who can bounce back.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a guy who had some early cycle success the cycle before and then was terrible this cycle. So the only way he can go is up is Tiny Titan. And here's why. He is in a division that is pretty tough. Meats, I know isn't elite, but Meats is good enough to where if you play him twice a year, even if you're a great player, he might get you once. RD's great player. Obviously, Dump is a great player. So right off the bat, he's probably going 0-6 just off his division. And then if he has to play like an AFC South or AFC West, that dude could be 0-9 before he even blinks. Um, so I say all that to say this: if he listens to people and takes advice, and he gets a favorable division with a favorable team, Tiny Titan could make the playoffs 2 or 3 times in a cycle, opposed to 0 times this cycle. And to me, I think that's a net positive, and I think that'd be a step in the right direction for a guy who actually isn't that bad if he doesn't throw 50 interceptions in a season. It's amazing that he's even close in some of these games.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy to see how many interceptions he throws and then still ends up in it
One
at
or
the
two
end.
scores. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's not a bad pick. I watched his game versus Dan start to finish. He played Dan tough. I mean, he lost, but he
Yeah.
played him tough. He had some nice
And
user picks in there. He played
yeah.
well.
Yeah, he
How
has a
many
good user game.
how many picks did he throw in that game? I mean, I'm guessing four or five against Dan. I would assume. Like,
Most
Yeah.
likely.
yeah, and that's like his user is good, like you said. He's good with the hit sticks. Man, if he could
Mhm.
just be patient, like just be patient.
Yeah.
That guy could win some games.
All right. So let's talk about Tiny kind of got held back, maybe not by his team, but his division this year. Who's an SML member that picked a team that it just didn't work out for them? Maybe if they'd picked a different team, things would have been different. We'll start with you, Hugh.
Tiny would be a good one to go with as the Seahawks, just because he joined a really, really tough division. It's a good team to be. I would like to be the Seahawks, even though they don't have a couple first round picks and things like that. But he's in, as Prime just said, he's in RD's division. He's in Dump's division. He's in Meat's division. Then he plays a lot of NFC teams that are still playoff teams and whatnot. So I'd go him as one of the teams. Another one that I would go with would probably be Dump as well. I'd just stick to the same division because I don't know because I did join late, but I think they both had pretty high picks if I'm not mistaken. And Dump was really revered as like this guy that was maybe a top dog as well. That was gonna be the guy to be the man or one of the guys that get a Zimbardi this cycle. So I'd go with those two guys that they picked a tough division to be in, and it's hard to kind of get out of there.
Okay. Prime, we'll go with you next.
It's funny. Me and Matt kind of on the same wavelength here. I got Mike FML for my third down, and here's why. Mike was an average player to start last cycle and go through last cycle. 500 Mike was kind of the joke because he would always go 7-9 or 8-8 or 9-7. But this year he's kind of found a way to go below 500 quite often, and he picked top 7, I think, in the team selection draft and took a Packers team that I don't think really fits his style. He's got a good quarterback. The defense wasn't that great, and he never had the running back that he really wanted. I think if Mike can just reset next cycle and take a team with a good running back and good outside cornerbacks, good man outside corner. He loves that man coverage. He loves press man coverage. He loves running the ball up the middle and outside, and just gets a solid quarterback where he doesn't feel inclined to throw it a lot. I think Mike could be better suited to go back to at least average or above average, and win some games and make the playoffs. I mean, he's a smart guy, analytical guy. He just needs a team that complements that.
Okay. And Matt, how about you?
Yeah, so I'm just going to say the Seahawks, as a Seahawks fan, the Seahawks didn't hold Tiny back. Tiny held Tiny back. Trading DK is the dumbest trade ever made in this league. Period.
Yeah,
I don't
no,
even need to
it was
be
a
in
good
your
trade.
all the cycles to know that. Anyways, I'm going to go a little outside of the limb here because I'm going to pick someone who's successful, but I think their team choice could have been better, and they might have done better as a result, and that's Paulie.
Okay.
There's no secret that Paulie knows the game. You play him, he's going to do the same things. I've played him a ton of times, so I know, but he's not going to surprise you. He's not going to try and mix it up to surprise you. He's going to give you the same stuff every single time. He knows what he's doing. The problem is you pick the Miami Dolphins. Teams that went after the Miami Dolphins, the Broncos would have been fantastic for him. The Jaguars would have been a great team to build. And even honestly, Washington football team would have been fine. I'm assuming he took the Dolphins for the cap, the young quarterback, and Breida, but you can get a fast running back anywhere. Um, so I think Paulie, if he had a better team, because he runs the same stuff all the time, and if you have a better team, I think that will help. The problem is he runs into guys like Bomber, Prime, Dan, who know what he's going to do and they know exactly how to stop it, and he runs into a wall. So I think Paulie could have done better. His team, I don't think is bad. It's just I think he knows the game and he could execute better if he had a better team. Um, that's my feeling from playing Paulie 20,000 times. On the flip side, I also think that, and I wasn't in the league at the time, and this person isn't in the league,
PJ.
but I think PJ, he picked like 18 or 19. He could have taken a better team as well. So it's guys like that pick kind of early. I know Paulie didn't really pick early, but when Paulie came up, there were a lot of teams there, and I don't know why people pass on these outstanding teams like the Broncos. But and then Paulie goes into chat and says Dan has this amazing team, and Bomber has this amazing team, but he passed on both of them. So I don't understand that either.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing about Paulie, he took Miami, and then literally the next pick, Washington football team went right after. And Washington kind of never that great, maybe to start a cycle, but it seems like they always develop well because they do have some pretty solid young pieces.
And maybe Paulie was looking at the cap space of Miami, and which is I totally agree. That's a very appealing aspect. But the way free agency is, having the most cap doesn't matter. Figs had the most cap, I think, every single offseason, and the guy gets sniped every single time. He can't spend the money. He wants to spend the money, but he can't even spend it.
Yep.
That hurts him too.
All right. So let's go with topic 4, and this was brought up by Grumpy Grams in chat the other day, and he was saying that too many people are going for it on fourth down. That only the best teams go for it. Obviously, we looked that up, and that's not even close to true. But what do you think about the fourth down rules? Are they too relaxed, or are they even too strict? And how would you change them? And we'll start with you, Prime.
Yeah, Grumpy Grams, that's pretty good. I bet you had that written down and you were planning to pull that out, I'm sure. But you know, I think that honestly, in the grand scheme of things, looking at all other leagues and looking at the NFL, I feel like our rules are actually maybe a little too tight. Honestly, I think they could probably be laxed up in the sense of, and I've considered this. This was a rule I considered before I actually went back to my notes and looked before this conversation happened, was moving the 4th and 3 rule back to the 50-yard line, and then you could go for on 4th and inches or closer from your own. I think it's from your own 40. So just kind of moving things back because NFL teams are getting only more aggressive. Analytics is a big thing in real life. Now, I know that just because it's in real life doesn't mean the game should always replicate certain things. But there is evidence that shows just because we convert probably 90% of the time on 4th and 1, in the NFL, they convert about 85% of the time. So the percentages aren't that far off. The reason why I haven't relaxed the rules too much is because I don't think that we wouldn't gain that much from it. And I feel like it just, I kind of want to keep a nice, tight sim fashion. And I don't think we'd gain a much net positive from doing it. So why loosen it up?
All right, Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, to preface this by, I think Meats posted a thing at the end of last season that said that I was the only person in the league last season that didn't go for it on fourth down and didn't attempt a 2-point conversion. But I'm not as biased towards the fourth down rule or opposed to it as you would think. In my opinion, fourth down rules for me, and what I've said in every single Madden I've ever played or any Madden league is, if you stop me if you stop me 3 downs in Madden, that's impressive, and I should probably punt to you because it's hard to play defense in Madden. But I like our fourth down rules. Honestly, I've never been in a position in a game where I thought, "Geez, this guy shouldn't be going for it here." I think it's fair. I like that it's not too strict, so that you feel like you lost a game because of the fourth down rule. I know there are some guys. I know Fields mentioned a couple times that he wishes he could go for it on his own 25. We wouldn't want to open it up that much, but no, I think it's fine. I think the only one that I would maybe get rid of would be fourth and 3 or less with inside your own 45. There's a lot of field goal range in there where you're kicking it, but again, I'm not gonna just dig and be too picky about our fourth down rules. I like them. I don't use them. Like I said, I didn't even go for it once last season. I don't see a problem with it.
All right, and Hugh.
So I think that, like Prime said, I think that they're not too strict at all. There's a few things that I would tweak, maybe, just maybe even, because I like the rules as is, and it'd be something like a 4th and 3 maybe at the 50-yard line as well, or a 4th and 4 maybe instead of 4th and 3, because a lot of the time you find yourself in 4th and 4 situations a lot more than you do 4th and 3. And I think that just that 1 yard does make a difference. Also, maybe like 5, you can go for it, like, because I know you can go for it within the 5-yard line no matter what. Maybe pushing that to the 10-yard line. But I don't think it's about the four. I don't think it's about the fourth down rules. I think it's more about the integrity of going for it. I think that's what it's about. I think that's what Grams is more alluding to, is like, if you're up 21-3 and it's the fourth quarter and it's 4th and inches and you're on the 29-yard line, it'd probably be cool to take a field goal because you're already winning and most likely you have the game in control. Depends on the time, of course, but probably have the game in control. Probably take a field goal. The thing is, a lot of the time, as the better teams, it doesn't feel good when you're getting your ass kicked. So then when people go for 4th down on top of that and they rub it in it feels like it's almost like it's rubbing in your face. Like, I can do whatever I want on you and I'm going to keep going for it and I'm going to possibly score or I'm just going to burn the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say it's more about the integrity of going for it, when and where to go for the 4th down, rather than actually changing the rules or being more strict to make sure people can't go for it in certain situations. It should just be more, people should have, a good idea of your opponent, number one, and then number two, the situation and, how it is.
Yeah. Can I have another talking minute, Bomber?
Yeah.
So that's a good point that QP brought up. One thing I would like to tweak is when you can go for it in the fourth quarter. Maybe if you're down, that might be something that actually does need tweaked. Another thing to consider, the most argued rules in leagues, and this is what kills leagues. We're not perfect by any means. I've made a lot of mistakes in running leagues, but from what I see, things that kill leagues are people who argue over 4th down rules and the trade rules. People get so obsessed with 4th downs and trades, and they forget that that's only a small percentage of what makes a great league. QP hit the nail on the head. You have to get the people right. If you get the people right, it does not matter what your rules are because they will do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I care so much more about guys coming out in weird personnel packages, guys abusing the same routes, guys doing all this stuff, because if they're going to do all that, 4th down rule doesn't matter because they'll probably never get there and they'll be up by 30 points. That's kind of my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, the only thing I would want to add. Oh, go ahead, Q.
No, you go first.
Oh, I was just gonna say I'd like to see some, maybe something special for overtime, and that was just because I ran into something where it was gonna be a tie game or the clock was gonna run out and I had to kick it. But
yeah, 4th down and overtime maybe tweaked a little bit.
All right, Hugh, you had
two
something?
things first. Yep, 2 things. First, I would like the points that you just made right there because I was about to say the same thing. And then second, I would like all the points you gave Prime right now because he said I hit the nail on the head. So he's basically I'm taking all the credit, but he's trying to get those points. So I'd like those points back for both those situations. But
that's not right. That's not right. Come on now.
All right. Well, I gave you 3 more points, and that means you only lost by 1 point to Prime, who had 61. You had 60, and Matt wins with 63 and remains undefeated this season. So Matt, these 30 seconds are all yours.
Yeah, what else is new? It's been a good start to my season, being 7-0. It's I will say I wasn't expecting it, but Prime and QP brought up good points. It's the people that make this league. I normally don't play Madden in June. Actually makes me want to puke thinking about it. But this league is a ton of fun. I appreciate it. Prime, even though he's annoying, he does a great job. He's obviously doing something right. So. Even I get along with everybody, I feel like, so I appreciate everybody that's in this league, and it's content like this that puts it over the top as well. So thanks all you guys.
Thanks,
all
Matt.
right. In case anybody's wondering, Patriots Colts week 11.
We'll Matt, I'm coming for you, Bubba.
But all right, guys, appreciate you being on.
I hadn't even thought about that.
Make a guarantee, Matt. Here, right now. Make a guarantee.
I'm
Yeah,
not
would you like-
worried. Not worried. We'll hit the Undertaker
him on the
gong
spot.
again like we did in the playoffs, and he'll
Lord
pull
have mercy.
like he did. Yeah, no problem.
Colts by 20. Book it, boys.
All right, you heard it here. Colts by 20.
Edit that out. Edit that out.
Yeah. All right, guys. Appreciate you being on. Till next week, this has been First and Goal.
Thanks for listening to First and Goal. Be sure to check out Mad Bomber TV on Twitch and YouTube for the latest from the SML. And we'll see you next time on First and Goal.